During the middle portion of the ZMBXA 50th class reunion in India in October 2017, one group visited the Ajanta Caves and Ahilya Fort, while 14 of us went for a week-long trek to Har, a high alpine valley located in Govind National Park, northwest of Mussoorie. One of the most beautiful areas of Uttarakhand, it has been preserved as a park since 1955. Flora and fauna are protected, as well as many aspects of the indigenous culture, including the traditional wooden houses. Many hikers, both Indian and foreign, visit the park, and typically 4 different groups of Woodstock Grade 10 students trek in the area during Activity Week each year. Har was always a favorite hike for the students, both because of its beauty and because it was considered the easiest. So it seemed a good choice for this group, all of us pushing 70, except for 2 teenagers. But the designation of easy is relative anywhere, and particularly in the Himalaya. We started out early in the morning from our lodgings at Ivy Bank. It was not an auspicious start. The taxis to take us to the trailhead, a day's drive away, were late in arriving. We're not experienced mountain drivers, and one vehicle could not back up properly. But we headed off in great spirits, enjoying the majestic views, despite the often terrifying turns and cliff-like drop-offs down to the Yamuna River Valley. We stopped for lunch in Parola, the main town in a broad valley known for its bountiful crops of red rice. Although we were offered a large menu, almost nothing on the menu was actually available. So we ordered what we could and waited a long time. Plenty of time for Peter and Barbie to entertain us with their readings on how to behave on our upcoming adventure. We arrived late that evening at our new, still being constructed hotel in the village of Sankri. Next morning, all of our gear was loaded onto jeeps, and we drove the last hour up a gravel road to the trailhead in the village of Toluca, elevation 6,234 feet. This was it. For the next 5 days, we would be relying on our feet to get us to our destination, another 29 miles and another 5,212 feet of elevation gain, not counting the downs that would then also become ups. In most American hiking books, this trail would likely be labeled difficult. But this was the Himalaya, where men in tennis shoes carry electric poles over rocky trails for days, and women with heavy loads of fodder glide gracefully across steep landslides. This was an adventure, and we were ready. We donned our boots and day packs, picked up our walking sticks, smiled a lot, and headed out. The trekking company provided all of the tents, meals, and a portable outhouse. We each brought our own sleeping bags, pads, and clothing in a small duffel bag. All of this was carried by mules, so we only carried our day packs with essentials, plenty of water, and snacks. The first day's hike was to be relatively easy, a gradual climb along the river through forest for 12 kilometers. But it wasn't long until we encountered our first surprise. A landslide had blocked the trail, and we would need to take a detour. Straight up the hillside in the noonday sun, through the village of Datmir, then across through forest and back down to the river. Not only would this add a very steep climb and 4 kilometers to our first day, but add 2 kilometers to the next day's hike as well. This was looking not much at all like a hike for seniors, and not much at all like what people thought they had signed up for. But there was no choice. So up we went, and exhausted already, having found all of our bodily weaknesses in the first few hours of the trek, we were met by a curious group of village children at the top. After resting a bit, we moved on, hiking mostly a level path through forest, stopping at a hillside Shiva Mandir for another rest. then downhill to the river and our camp for the night. We were a tired group of trekkers, to say the least. As Tim said, after the first day, everything else was easy. The next morning, we woke up happily to chai being brought to our tents, a delightful ritual of trekking in India, and congratulated ourselves on making it through the first day. Some were surprised by the accommodations. One actually could sleep comfortably on an air mattress if one was tired enough. One could sleep head to toe with grandchildren 4 to a tent and manage. It was a definite challenge to get there in the dark, but the outhouse actually had a seat. We were settling into our routines, buoyed along by lots of good humor and plenty of steady perseverance. We delighted in having Barb and Peter's teenage grandchildren, Harry and Lily, in the group. Eager to race along faster than the rest of us, they walked in the lead with our guide Raj, practicing English and Hindi. We found our individual, comfortable paces and spread out along the trail, some of us lagging to take photographs or talk to passing hikers and villagers. We walked steadily up, with lots to entertain us. A suspension bridge, herds of sheep with baby lambs, herdsmen spinning and explaining that their wool garments were as cool in summer as they were warm in winter, women carrying loads of the amaranth harvest, women sharpening knives and shouting about their grass-cutting rights, beautiful flowers, pink balsam, Himalayan knotweed as tall as we were, and growing vistas of the river and the mountains. When we reached Sumatra, our waterfall camp, which would be our home for 2 nights, our tents were already set up and afternoon tea was served. The full moon seemed especially close that night from our high perch. We had climbed another 2,000 feet up, over 10 kilometers, most of it in the sun. The following day, we hiked the easy 8-kilometer round trip to Harki Valley and back, mostly through forest. One of our guides offered prayers at the Shiva Mandir on arrival, and we had plenty of time to lounge, explore, eat our lunches, and take photographs. We reached the high point of our journey, 11,446 feet. We relished our accomplishment and soaked up the beauty of our surroundings. After another night at our high camp, which by this season was really quite cold at night with frosty mornings, we started our return trek. Already? Another 29 kilometers down? For aging knees and ankles, the downhill is often harder than the uphill. Jack was hiking very soon after knee surgery, and Sarah was coping with an injured ankle. But they were both good sports and persevered, inspiring the rest of us when we got tired. We took a slightly different route going down, walking on the other side of the river, which allowed us to see another village with its beautifully carved wooden temple and head to our now familiar camping spot from our first night out. Our last day took us walking gently down along the river, mostly through forest, and across the now repaired landslide to our final campsite on a small bluff by the river. As we descended the mountain, Shiva descended too, from his high summer abode to his winter home in one of the villages. In the morning it was time to thank the staff who had taken care of this group of senior citizens so very well. With one quick hour of walking, we were back in Toluca, sipping chai in the tea stall as we waited for the jeeps. Then down to Sankri, where again our taxis were late, by hours this time. Plenty of time to shop in the few stores. A traditional Garhwali cap for Tim, and Garhwali scarves for the ladies. But despite a flat tire on one vehicle and a fender-bender mashup with another, we made it safely back to Ivy Bank. Despite the many challenges of the trek, everyone agreed they were glad they did it. As one hiker said, I can honestly say that the hike was one of the highlights of my life. And remembering the care for each other in the group, she wished she'd connected with classmates sooner. For all of us, it was a shared experience we will always treasure.
Don't miss out. Subscribe below and hit the notification bell.